gardening lovers! Today I'm going to show you a novel method to germinate seeds. It's going to result in faster germination, more predictability, and I think a little better germination rate as well. So stay tuned, and if you wait until the end, I'll also show you a novel method to keep the fungus gnats and other fungal diseases away from killing off your young seedlings. So here are the seeds that I'm going to sprout using the paper towel method. The first one is cilantro. Now, cilantro typically takes a little while to sprout, and for me, especially this time of year where the weather is still kind of warm and yeah, it's getting cooler, but you have some hot days here and there, cilantro struggles to germinate for me. So I've got two cilantros that I'm going to be sprouting. One is seed that I saved earlier this year, so I do not know about the germination, so that's part of the reason why I want to test it. I'm going to test it side by side with its parent. This is the seed that actually generated the plants that resulted in the collection of these seeds. So I'm going to test both of these using the paper towel method, and I'm going to see how long they take to germinate. The next one is spinach. Now, spinach, I typically have a hard time growing no matter what time of year. It feels like it bolts too easily, or the germination is too poor, and I just don't have good luck growing spinach. So I'm going to try and germinate it using the paper towel method and see whether that will result in a better harvest. The third is beets. Now this, similar to the cilantro, I've got my home-saved variety, and I've got my parent variety that generated these. So I have not been able to successfully grow these from seed, and part of the reason was I was starting it indoors and I got damping off kind of like a fungusy thing on the surface. So I just want to make sure that this is viable seed. So that's why I'm going to use the paper towel method. And the last one is this white Lisbon onion. Now, onions tend to have a seed viability of maybe a year or 2 years if you can really stretch it. But most of them, it's about a year. And this is about a year old, these seeds. So I want to test them to make sure that they are still viable. So let's go ahead and get those in paper napkins and put them in little Ziploc bags, and we will check on their progress. So here I've got my paper napkins, and what I've done is I've put a few seeds in the napkin, and I'm going to fold it up left-handed, and I'm going to put a little fold on the side just so they don't slip out through the side. When I wet it down, this will stick nicely. So I put a little label, slow bolt cilantro home and slow bolt cilantro bought, and I put the date on it. Now all I'm going to do is give it a little spritz. You don't want it soppy wet. Yeah, so as you can see, the seeds are nicely moistened, and then just fold it up on the side. And I've got my Ziploc bag here, so I'm going to slide it into the Ziploc bag. I'm going to seal the Ziploc bag, and I'm going to put it on my kitchen counter away from direct sunlight so I can kind of keep an eye on it. So my seeds are all set up in Ziploc bags, and they're ready to go on my kitchen counter. As you can see, as I move from left to right, this thing functions as a mini greenhouse. You can see the evaporation has already started to occur here, and that will keep the moisture inside. Now you might wonder, seeds need air to germinate. Trust me, there's plenty of air in there for the amount of time these seeds will need to germinate. And every once in a while I'll come and take a look. Maybe I'll open it and then reclose it. So don't worry about the air factor. You do need to keep the moisture in there though. So if there is insufficient moisture, if the seeds absorb everything and the paper napkin starts to dry out, they will not germinate. So that's the thing you need to keep an eye on, is the moisture level. But the air, they've got plenty of air. So I will check again as these seeds germinate. I will show you how they are doing. Today is October 13th, and I have been checking my seeds every day since putting them in these plastic baggies since October 11th, which is when I put them in. And as you can see, we do have germination. So this is the American spinach, and you can see that little root coming out. Now the thing is, with this method, you absolutely need to get the seeds into seed starter tray as soon as you see the roots emerging, because they will dig into the paper napkin, and then it just becomes practically impossible to remove them. So, and let me show you the other, which is sprouting, which is the bull's blood beet. Now, I had planted both seeds that I had saved as well as the store-bought, and the store-bought is germinating. My homegrown is not. So at this point, I'm going to leave them for a few more days, but it might have been that I did not save them under the right circumstances or store them under the right circumstances, but they are not germinating yet. But this is a really good way that you can check the viability of your seeds in just a couple of days. If I had to put these in the soil, I'd probably be waiting a week. In fact, I did that. I waited a week, and then I noticed that these were growing and nothing had come out from my homegrown. But this is a much faster way of figuring that out. None of the others are germinating. I actually added some pomegranate seeds as well, but not yet. So day 6 after putting these seeds in these little baggies, and never say never, right guys? I mean, this is the white Lisbon onion that I said had no chance of germinating yesterday, and look at that. I've already got at least one germinating. I was mistaken about this as well. I said that my homegrown seeds on the left were changing color compared to the right, which was store-bought, and maybe it's because my homegrown seeds were going bad, but guess what? Germination right there, and there are none germinating on the store-bought side of things. So yeah, it takes a good 6 days at least for cilantro to germinate, I guess. So today is the 19th of October, and as you can see, I put these seeds in the plastic bag just yesterday. So it's been a little over 24 hours, and you can see that most of them are already sprouting. That's how fast lettuce seeds sprout. So I'm gonna have to get these into a 6-pack that I'm planning to grow it in, because I want to grow these to head lettuce. I have also got good growth coming from my homegrown mix, as I call it. This is a mixture of Parascos and romaine lettuce seeds. I wasn't sure about their viability, but as you can see, they are very viable. So I've got my 6-packs ready with some potting soil that I put in it, and you can see on the top I've sprinkled some vermiculite. I actually used that to cover these tiny little thyme seeds when I planted them in here. So that keeps the moisture in, as well as it provides very light and airy type of a topping, so that the seeds can sprout and push through it and grow very easily. Another thing that the vermiculite does is it protects against things like fungus growth. It's like damping off disease, which is a fungal infection, and also it prevents fungus gnats from laying their eggs, and those little things that come out of the eggs live under the soil and they eat away at your seedlings underneath, so they're bad news. So overall, vermiculite has been a really, really good solution to keep all of those things away. But in the meanwhile, let's go ahead and pot up these little seedlings. The way I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be using a tweezer to pick these, because they're really, really tiny. So, and I want to make sure I don't damage them by using my stumpy fingers to grab them. So let me go ahead and open this bag, and then we'll do that. Okay, you can see it much better now. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be picking up one little seed with the tweezer and very gently moving it to this tray. I've got 2 holes that I've made, so I'm going to be putting 2 seeds. Just drop it in here. So for the bigger seeds, you might want to worry about orientation, just try to get the root going downward. But these tiny little seeds, they'll orient themselves the right way in no time at all. And then I'm just going to gently cover it up. I'm going to put some vermiculite over this as well, so I don't have to worry about covering it up right now. Let's pick another seed right there. These things will start to grow into that tissue very, very quickly, so you want to make sure you get them as soon as they sprout. Okay, so just cover it up I'm going to put some vermiculite over this as well. I'm going to go ahead and put the rest of these 2 per slot, and then in the last one, whatever is remaining on this, I'm just going to dust it onto the last spot, and I will go ahead and have a whole bunch of them growing there, and as they grow bigger I will prick them out, which I'll show you right now. Okay, so this is the pricking out method, and basically what it is as you can see here, these are lettuce plants, and I put a whole bunch of seeds and a whole bunch of plants have grown. Now, obviously this tiny little cell is not going to be a good environment for these plants if they grow any bigger, because they're all going to be competing for nutrition and space, and they're just gonna all die. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull them out with the little soil ball at the end, shake it and sort of separate them out gently. Lettuce seedlings tend to be pretty hardy, so don't worry too much about it, but shake them out, shake out that soil. And then what you're going to do is you're going to make little holes, and I've got the 6-pack already set up for that, but basically make a hole quite deep. You know, you're going to put that entire root, and you will see how long the root is in just a little bit. But yeah, stick your finger as deep as it can go. And then put the roots inside this. I did the same thing for these a few days ago, and as you can see, most of them are doing well. There's a couple that I'm not really sure whether they're going to make it, but for the most part these will grow individually, and when they grow a little bit bigger, develop maybe 2 to 3 pairs of leaves, I will take them and put them in a permanent spot that they can grow nice and big. These develop some nice loose leaf head lettuce that you can use either as cut or come again, so you can just cut off the outer leaves and use them, or you can wait for it to form a loose head and then you can harvest the whole thing. So let me go ahead and prick out those seedlings and put them in the 6-pack. So I pull this thing out by its root, and as you can see, the roots extend all the way down here. So there's some pretty long roots, so just kind of gently break them apart like this, and I'm doing this one-handed, so that's how easy it is. You can do it one-handed, with the other hand, you know, holding your video camera. Then you take a plant like this. Now be careful when you hold it, because if you break the stem, that's it. That's the end of the plant. So you kind of want to hold it by its leaves, and then you just take it to one of these holes, and then put the root in as far as it can go. Bury maybe even a little bit of the stem, and then just sort of gently move the soil around it. And I'm going to put some vermiculite for the same reasons that I just described, to keep some of the moisture in and fungus out. And that's it. You will need to water this in. That will help the soil sort of settle around it. But that's really all there is to pricking out seedlings. It's a very effective way to grow a whole bunch of seedlings and get them started very quickly. And then you can kind of sort of take your time once they germinate to get them into their final destination. But don't wait too long. Don't let them grow too big. They become more difficult and less hardy the larger they grow. All right, green lovers, so that is my experiment with the bags. As you can see, they germinate much faster. You can have a predictable germination rate, and all these seedlings that I have planted here came from that method. So as you can see, every single cell is being utilized, because I know that the seeds did germinate before I put them in there, and I used the vermiculite to indicate which cells were filled and which cells were ready to be filled, did not have vermiculite on them. So hope you enjoyed all those little tips and tricks, and until next time, live green and love your greens.